When it comes to weight loss, no two people are the same. That's why Noom builds personalized plans based on your unique psychology and biology. Take Brittany. After years of unsustainable diets, Noom helped her lose 20 pounds and keep it off.
I was definitely in a yo-yo cycle for years of just losing weight, gaining weight, and it was exhausting.
And Stephanie. She's a former D1 athlete who knew she couldn't out-train her diet, and she lost 38 pounds.
My relationship to food before Noom was never consistent.
And Evan, he can't stand salads, but he still lost 50 pounds with Noom.
I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. Even through the pickiness, Noom taught me that building better habits builds a healthier lifestyle. I'm not doing this to get to a number. I'm doing this to feel better.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom users compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
It's Saturday, the 9th of November. I'm Ciara Evans, and this was a week that saw Donald Trump stage an incredible comeback. New Tory leader Kemi Badenoch get to work. Prince William heads to Cape Town for the Earthshot Prize, and tributes to a musical great.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
The week began with an optimistic tone for the Democrats' presidential candidate Kamala Harris. She appeared on Saturday Night Live, and a poll from Iowa suggested that the election could be closer than expected. As campaigning wrapped up, Harris took to the stage in front of 30,000 people in Philadelphia and remained positive in her final plea to voters.
Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it?
And after a weekend of accusations about election interference and ranting about how he should never have left the White House back in 2021, Donald Trump returned to his campaign theme of immigration and threatening mass deportations on day one if elected. With a last-minute endorsement by Joe Rogan, he was staying positive on his chances of winning too.
So essentially, they have an expression, I hate the expression actually, but it's ours to lose. Does that make sense to you? It's ours to lose. If we get everybody out and vote, there's not a thing they can do.
Early on Wednesday morning, results began to come in, and the convicted felon and former president performed strongly, beating his numbers in 2020 and looking set to win the popular vote. Republicans also won the Senate, flipping crucial seats in Ohio and West Virginia, while Ted Cruz retained his seat in Texas. Key swing states, including Georgia, North Carolina and Pennsylvania, all went to Trump, which was enough to see him over the line. Republican commentator David Urban said Trump's message appealed to a broad range of voters.
Over half of America feels very strongly about the things that Donald Trump feels strongly about, right? A secure border, the economy, crime. It might not be a perfect messenger, but the message resonates.
Trump was sounding positive and calm in his victory address early on Wednesday morning.
So I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body.
His victory will almost certainly mean the end of the special counsel investigation and most of his legal troubles. And with the Republicans winning control of the Senate and potentially on track to win back control of the House, he'll have a clear path to enact his policy agenda. Vice President Harris called on him on Wednesday to concede the race, although counting still continues in several states. She spoke at Howard University in Washington to an emotional crowd of supporters.
While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. I will never give up the fight for a future where Americans can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations.
The reaction to Donald Trump's second presidential victory has been markedly different from the response to his first victory in 2016. This time there was a flurry of congratulations from big tech, including Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and even Kamala Harris supporting Mark Cuban. Elon Musk was also busy taking a victory lap as world leaders posted on X with messages of congratulations, including Emmanuel Macron, Benjamin Netanyahu and Ursula von der Leyen. Things are particularly awkward for the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, an outspoken Trump critic who also posted congratulations, while Prime Minister Keir Starmer also weighed in with good wishes.
Can I begin by congratulating President-elect Trump on his historic election victory. As the closest of allies, the UK and US will continue to work together to protect our shared values of freedom and democracy.
Things are a bit more tense for Ukrainian President Zelensky as Trump has promised to end Russia's war in Ukraine on day one, but probably not in Ukraine's favour. At the very least, it's expected that the US military and financial support will dry up, and Ukrainian MP Kira Rudik was appealing for some calm reflection.
During the campaign, Donald Trump and his team were promising ending the war in 24 hours. So we really hope the president of the leader of the democratic world will take what is happening in Ukraine very seriously.
US President Joe Biden weighed in on Donald Trump's election victory on Thursday. He spoke from the White House Rose Garden, famously designed by Melania, and assured Americans that there will be a smooth transfer of power and that the will of the people will prevail.
Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win.
In the UK, there was also a new leader this week as former Business Secretary Kemi Badenoch became the Conservative Party's fifth leader in as many years. After Rishi Sunak announced his plan to resign as party leader back in July, it quickly became a two-way race to replace him between Kemi and former Immigration Secretary Robert Jenrick. But it was Kemi who came out victorious with 57% of the vote. Speaking after her victory was announced on Saturday, Kemi said it's time for a new era in the party.
Our party is critical to the success of our country. But to be heard, we have to be honest. Honest about the fact that we made mistakes. The time has come to tell the truth.
Monday saw her begin to make appointments to her shadow cabinet. Some familiar faces are back in the front row, including rival Robert Jenrick as Justice Secretary and Priti Patel making a return, this time as Shadow Foreign Secretary. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Keir Starmer was focused on crime in the Channel on Monday as he announced plans to seek a new security deal with European allies at an Interpol conference in Glasgow. The deal may include more cooperation with Italy, and he's also announced an additional £75 million for the Border Security Command.
There is nothing progressive about turning a blind eye as men, women and children die in the Channel. This is a vile trade that must be stamped out wherever it thrives.
Labour also found themselves under fire this week over a new plan to increase tuition fees. University fees have been capped at £9,250 since 2017, but now an inflation-linked increase has been approved for 2025. It comes as universities struggle with funding in the face of inflation, but the move was immediately criticised by students' unions. Labour Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson has pledged to raise the student maintenance loans to assist those on low incomes. She said that students with loans don't need to be worried.
From April 2025, we will be increasing the maximum cap for tuition fees in line with inflation to £9,535. Now, I understand some students may worry about the impact this increase will have on their loan debt. When you start repaying your loan, you will not see higher monthly repayments. That's because student loans are not like consumer loans.
New Tory leader Kemi Badenoch introduced her full shadow cabinet on Tuesday. She says it's a team that's been picked based on meritocracy and drawing on talents across the Tory party. There were plenty of familiar faces, including leadership rivals Robert Jenrick, Mel Stride and Priti Patel. Patel is Shadow Foreign Secretary, while Stride is Shadow Chancellor, with the other big job of Shadow Home Secretary going to Kemi ally Chris Phillip. Jenrick's appointment as Shadow Justice Minister and the leaks around it hinted that the Tory infighting may not be over, but he was giving Labour both barrels in the Commons on Tuesday afternoon over the early release scheme.
Can I belatedly congratulate the front bench on their appointments? I've been a little busy over the summer. But during that time, the only group this Labour government's popularity has increased with is criminals.
The ghost of Tory spending may also return to haunt Badenoch as Richard Hughes from the Office of Budgetary Responsibility testified on the existence of a spending black hole in front of the Treasury Select Committee.
There were about £9.5 billion worth of net pressure on departments' budgets, which they did not disclose to us as part of our usual budget preparation process, which under the law and under the Act they should have done.
Wednesday saw new Tory leader Kemi Badenoch take to the dispatch box for the first time for Prime Minister's questions. Keir Starmer welcomed her while pointing out she is the fourth Tory leader he's faced as a leader of the Labour Party. Kemi didn't go easy on her first day, and despite Chancellor Rachel Reeves's new promise not to raise taxes in the spring statement, Kemi had some topical thoughts about the first Labour budget.
The Chancellor's budget last week was a copy and paste of Bidenomics. It turns out that a high spending, high borrowing, high inflation approach is less popular than she may have thought. May I suggest he now urge her to change course, or is he determined to be a one-term leader?
The week finished out with good news for mortgage holders on Thursday as the Bank of England dropped interest rates again, taking them down another quarter point to 4.75%. The bank did have a warning, though, that Chancellor Rachel Reeves's budget does contain what it sees as inflationary measures, which may mean that further interest rate reductions will take place over a longer timeline. Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey was keen to point out that as far as the bank is concerned, the days of an inflation-driven cost of living crisis is essentially over.
We think that the most likely profile of inflation going forwards, yes, it will go up a bit. We've got really good news. It's come down more than we thought it would, so we're starting at a lower level. There will be some increase, but the budget is only one contribution to that.
It was a busy week in European politics as the continent waited nervously to see who would win the US presidential election and what impact that might have. Monday saw Moldova hold off Russia election interference to re-elect their pro-Western president Maia Sandu. She secured 54% of the vote against her opponent, Russia-friendly Alexander Stoyanangolo, following up on a narrow victory in the previous EU referendum 2 weeks ago. The voting, much like Georgia's election, saw a concentrated effort by Vladimir Putin's forces to influence voters through intimidation and vote-buying schemes. Germany's foreign minister condemned what she called a massive coordinated attempt to prevent Moldovans in Germany voting, which included bomb threats at polling stations. President Sandu gave thanks to her compatriots on Monday.
Today, dear Moldovans, you have given a lesson in democracy worthy of being written in history books. Today, you have saved Moldova. No one lost today in our choice for a dignified future.
European leaders were in Budapest on Thursday for a European Political Community Summit. The event saw leaders from more than 40 countries hosted by Hungarian PM Viktor Orban, a man who Donald Trump speaks fondly of. Trump certainly cast a shadow over proceedings with calls for Europe to move faster on investment in defence and to take more responsibility for its own security. Orban is amongst European leaders in opposing aid to Ukraine, and Ukrainian President Zelensky, who spoke at the conference, was urging a unified approach in the defence of his country.
We need to respect each other. We need to prevent any future challenges on the equal basis. So we're not mixing two issues and questions. It's all about respect.
Vladimir Putin was also busy on Thursday offering congratulations to Donald Trump on his victory and speaking admiringly of how Trump behaved after the assassination attempt during the campaign. He said he was impressed by the correct way he responded to being shot, calling him courageous like a man, which will surely be music to Trump's ears. Putin also spoke on foreign policy and offered a new calmer tone.
What we need is a rational, objective analysis of what is going on. Russia does not see Western civilization as an enemy.
Meanwhile, a dispute over spending rules may see Germany head to the polls in the new year as the ruling coalition has collapsed. Chancellor Olaf Scholz says he will call a vote of confidence in his government early next year after disagreement over the budget led to a falling out with the finance minister Christian Lindner, who is also the leader of the Free Democrats party. Scholz, who leads the Social Democrats along with the Green Party, has been at the head of the coalition since 2021. But now, without a majority, one of Europe's most significant powers faces uncertainty. The German Chancellor said he had no choice but to fire the finance minister.
I feel forced to take this step in order to avert damage to our country. We need a government capable of acting that has the force to take the necessary actions for our country. That's what was important to me in the past 3 years. That's what's important to me now.
The Post Office compensation inquiry was in session on Tuesday and it heard from the man who became the face of the scandal, Sir Alan Bates. He was calling for firm deadlines for the payout of compensation to the sub-postmasters caught up in the Horizon IT scandal. The campaigner had high hopes that the new Labour government would move quickly on the compensation after months of Tory time wasting. But it was only last week's budget that finally saw funding put aside for those affected. The Prime Minister's office responded on Tuesday night warning that they can't commit to arbitrary deadlines and that almost £500 million have already been paid off. Sir Alan says Keir Starmer has ghosted him.
I wrote to the Prime Minister about
a month ago, and I said that it should be finished, it needs to be finished by the end of March 2025, and we asked for his help in setting this deadline. I never received a response.
Still to come on the Standout 7, Prince William heads to Cape Town for the Earthshot Prize, and we pay tribute to music and comedy legends.
Right after this.
Explaining football to the friend who's just there for the nachos? Hard. Tailgating from home like a pro with snacks and drinks everyone will love? An easy win. And with Instacart helping deliver the snack time MVPs to your door, you're ready for the game in as fast as 30 minutes. So you never miss a play or lose your seat on the couch or have to go head-to-head for the last chicken wing. Shop Game Day Faves on Instacart and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 grocery orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Other fees and terms apply.
Welcome back.
It was a mixed week for the royal family as the weekend saw a new investigation from Channel's Dispatches, and the Sunday Times revealed that the royal family received nearly £50 million in income from contracts with public bodies and charities over the last year. This includes rent and mooring fees paid by charities, the NHS, schools and the armed forces for buildings and land owned by the royals. A Duchy of Lancaster spokesperson says all contracts are legitimate and meet UK regulations, but Liverpool Metro Mayor Steve Rotherham says there's questions to be asked.
It was a surprise to me that these things aren't owned by the people. There's a much wider debate about whether kings in the 21st century should be getting money from land which was taken from people in feudal times.
Former Home Office Minister Norman Baker agreed and said it's time for a revamp.
They are interested in serving themselves rather than serving the country when it comes to money. I don't even accept that duchies are private estates, which is what Charles and his cohorts always say.
On a more positive note, Wednesday night saw Prince William in South Africa to present his Earthshot Prize inside a special eco-dome that was built especially for the occasion. The Earthshot Prize is a scheme which looks to encourage and reward investors and innovators who are focused on the environment. 5 winners receive £1 million each to help develop sustainable, eco-friendly projects. And this year's focus is on Africa, with the event taking place in Cape Town. We'll have more details on the winners in this weekend's Sunday 7 episode. Speaking before the ceremony, William spoke about the Princess of Wales' battle with cancer, describing the last 12 months as some of the most difficult in his life. However, he was sounding positive about the future.
She's doing really well, thanks, and hopefully she's watching tonight and sort of cheering me on. But no, she's been amazing this whole year, and I know she'll be really keen to see it tonight be a success.
There was good news for Nigel Farage on Tuesday as the government confirmed they're not planning to ban smoking in beer gardens or outside pubs and restaurants. They will go ahead with plans to ban smoking outside schools and hospitals, while also cracking down on advertising of vapes and restricting the numbers and types of flavours available. The plan to gradually ban smoking by raising the legal age each year is also still on the table when the bill comes before Parliament next week. Health Secretary Wes Streeting said it's not just a matter of public health, it's the fact that smoking-related illnesses also create additional strain on the National Health Service.
Smoking remains one of the biggest killers in our country. 1 in 4 cancer deaths are as a direct result of smoking. 80,000 people dying each year. The cost to the NHS and the wider economy is enormous.
This week saw the death of 2 very different characters from the world of entertainment. Last weekend saw Scottish comedian Janey Godley pass away at the age of 63. Born in East Dunbartonshire in 1961, Janey started as a pub landlady before diving into stand-up in 1994. She found viral success on TikTok during the COVID-19 pandemic with her satirical voiceovers of Nicola Sturgeon's press conferences. A passionate political advocate, she began in the Conservative Party, later joined the SNP and eventually toured the UK in support of Jeremy Corbyn's Labour in 2016. That same year, she made headlines for the explicit sign she held up in protest during the then US President Trump's arrival in Scotland. In March, Janey opened up about her terminal ovarian cancer diagnosis in a BBC documentary on her life. She spoke to Lorraine about living with a terminal illness. Rest in peace, Janey.
When we see the movies, somebody with cancer has cancer, goes bald, then dies. But in real life, there's a bit in the middle, and people say things like, I could get hit with a bus tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, but I'm being chased by a bus.
All the time.
So I'm having to dodge the bus every day, and it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like I'm living as best I can.
Then Monday morning brought sad news for music fans as the death of legendary music producer Quincy Jones was announced. He passed away at 91 years of age, and the world of music lost one of its most versatile and creative producers. He worked on many of the biggest albums of the 20th century, including Michael Jackson's Off the Wall, Thriller and Bad, but he always said he couldn't pick a favourite artist.
How do you choose between Sinatra, Ray Charles, Aretha, Michael Jackson, Shaka Khan and 50 Cent? All you can do is just reach for those instincts and leave some room for God to walk through.
He won 28 Grammys, along with the rarely awarded Grammy Legend and a Medal of Honour from Barack Obama in 2011. He remained humble and down to earth, which he put down to advice he got from legendary French music teacher Nadia Boulanger in 1957. Rest in peace, Quincy.
Your music will never be more or less than you are a human being. So that's how to work on the human being.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, we'll give you the world.
How did you actually sleep last night? If it didn't feel like your very best rest, then you need to upgrade to the softest, most luxurious bedding from Boll & Branch. Their signature sheets are made from the finest 100% organic cotton and get softer with every wash. Millions of sleepers love their sheets, and right now, you can feel the difference for yourself during their biggest sales of the entire year. Hurry to bollandbranch.com to shop their best offers. Limited time only. Exclusions apply. See site for details.